All right, I'm very, very excited to have my friend Rick Sheninger, help me out here, buddy. Yeah,
Sheninger, got it.
I did it. um, I I love having people like Rick on because Rick is super smart in terms of like the techie stuff. He's a fellow Keep certified partner, but also like gets really inspired and likes to kind of talk through like the ups and downs of entrepreneurship too. I recently had the pleasure of being on Rick's show, and so I got to kind of share my story there. And now I'm really excited to kind of dig deeper. And I specifically said, like, don't tell me too much. I want it all to come out, when we take turns here. So you guys are going to learn a lot about him as well as I will today. But the last thing I wanted to mention was the show that he had me on, and we'll definitely link it when this episode is aired, so you guys can learn more about him and his resources. But the show is literally called like Your Life Unchained. That's the theme of like unchaining yourself. And so I just thought it was such a great fit to kind of reciprocate that. And I want to hear all about your story and how you kind of became unchained in entrepreneurship, and how this all ties into what makes you happy and like what makes you tick. So to kind of get started and get off the bat, we'll start really easy. Tell us just a little bit about like where you are, what you like, just the basic stuff.
Well, thanks for having me on here, Jade. I'm super excited, and it was awesome to have you on my podcast, a couple weeks ago, I guess.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And yeah, where I'm at, my company is one-to-one marketing. So I've been doing marketing for, I think we're on 6 years now, something like that. 2014, whatever that math is. Whatever it is. And what I love about entrepreneurship is kind of the same thing I hate about entrepreneurship is you're your own boss. And, we all struggle with those times where we are really strict, horrible bosses and really crappy, lazy employees.
All at the same time.
Yes. And then vice versa. So, that's one of the things that I've struggled with as an entrepreneur, is being my own bottleneck. Even as I've started bringing on a team, then I have found myself being the bottleneck. So all of that to say, where am I at? First of all, in the country, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. And where I'm at, other than having this business for several years, is I've got one son who's about to turn 17 in about a month. And I don't know, it's an interesting place, because it was quite a journey, an entrepreneurial journey, just focusing on that piece. It's been quite a ride throughout my life.
Wow. So specifically, I mentioned a little bit about just like a little piece of your technical capabilities, but what are you awesome at? Like what do people pay you for?
So I'll preface that real quick with one thing that I've always been about growing up. I've always had kind of a nerdy, techie, geek side, mm-hmm. But it only went so far, and I've always had this really good people side. So fast forward to today, as email automation came around, is then when I discovered Keep, I'm like, finally, the people aspect and the tech aspect comes together, because I'm not so techie. I can't build your computer network for you. I don't go that deep into it. But when it comes to building a customer journey, oh man, I love it. Because that's where those two things meet, because you need the tech piece to put together the pieces, the structure of it, and you need the people piece to have the communication make any sense and resonate with the people on the other side of that. And that's where a lot of people fall short, is they forget that on the other side of all of those components, there are people.
Oh yeah. There's decisions being made. Yeah, absolutely.
Being made, and people get so caught up talking about metrics and numbers and conversions and all this stuff, and it's important, but at the heart of it all, if you focus on the people on the other side of that, then all that other stuff takes care of itself.
So you mentioned both being on a team and being a solopreneur. So let's kind of start at the beginning. What was your breaking point into entrepreneurship? I don't know if you were ever employed at one point and said screw this, or what happened to make you go out on your own?
I never was quite in that position. There's that one couple, the screw the 9 to 5 couple. I was never quite the screw this, I'm not working for anybody else ever.
I did.
Never quite got to that point, but I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit going back to lemonade stands and garage sales and all that kind of stuff as a kid. Lemonade
So you
stand.
always had a side hustle, even as a child.
Yes. Garage sales, because then you've got a captive audience, right? So
I bet you said that as a child too. Captive audience.
I might have, yes. Before that was even a thing. So I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit where, I want to do what I want to do. And, that's what makes working for a company difficult for a lot of people, because they want to do what they want to do, which doesn't necessarily fit with what they want you to do. Mm-hmm. But I could just consider working for somebody else being part of a team, whether I'm leading the team or part of the team, it's still working as a team. But as far as getting to the entrepreneurial side, I really love that bit of freedom that you can create. And that's probably the biggest thing I love about automation is it helps you create that freedom, because you get so much more time and life back by implementing that automation. And I love doing
so much. Have you ever met with clients that are new to technology and they tell you something that they repetitively do on paper or a spreadsheet that they made just to look at something, and you're like, I got news for you. We're going to make your life a lot better. And I remember having those light bulb moments when I started using Keep, much less getting good at it.
Yep.
I love those breakthrough moments. So did you build out an agency, or is it sort of like freelance, running into people in the community? How did you build your business?
I wouldn't quite say it's an agency. I have referred to myself as an agency before, because I do work for I do complete work for other people, but it's not an agency in a big, vast sense. So I guess depending on how you define it. Mm-hmm. I will real quickly go back, because what you just said, anybody who, pen and paper and all that stuff. So I've got a friend who's a general contractor, and I've been working with him since 2014. And I had talked to him about email automation at the time. He's like, any of that. I'm not interested. And fast forward to today, and I was working with him on some email automation just inside the last 12 months. And he finally got it. Like, oh, now it makes sense. But at the time, it didn't resonate with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but everyone definitely moves at their own pace, that's for sure. And and one thing I love about automation too is that it's kind of for everyone. It's not for the super geeky people who I want to set up my funnel top to bottom and all this stuff. Some people who are even just total Luddites just love it because they can set up the pieces, but they don't have to repetitively do things.
Right. And I think one of the misnomers also is people can think of automation as just those spam bots, or the spam bots, or just the junk email or the salesy email, the repetitive, this is on sale. In fact, as an example, there's a protein powder company that I like. It's not an MLM or anything. It's just like a legit company. They sell it in the stores. And I've purchased directly from their website before, which obviously got me on their list. Well, now I get 1 to 2 emails a day from them, and every single one is 20% off, buy 2 get 1 free. Every one is a sales thing, and none of it is useful. And that's just, it's painful. And then there's a clothing company that my son has shopped at. And in order to initially set up as a client a couple of years ago, I mistakenly entered my email in there, and I literally get at least 2 emails a day from them 2 to 3 emails per day from them, and it's all sales. So that's what people often think of when we talk about automation is, oh, I don't want to be that person. I don't blame you. I don't either. Nobody really realizes, not nobody, but people don't always realize that automation is creating a system that you don't have to manually do to get your personal message across and out.
Yeah. Or I've heard people call automation tools like Keep the cheapest employee they ever had. Because it does like the you have you ever hung up a call and be like, oh, will you follow up with that person? Like automation
Right.
does that. Or I think Greg Jenkins says it really well. He talks a lot about how like automation isn't impersonal. In fact, it's the opposite.
Mhm.
It's a projection of yourself. So if you put your authentic self in your emails, and as Rick so lovingly puts it, in your customer journey, so it makes sense to
Yes.
people, it's just a projection and an extension of you so that people get you all the time. And
Right.
that's the best kind of business to run, is when people feel taken care of. And if they buy in the middle of the night, they get an email when they need it. That's
Right.
I love the power of automation. I mean, I could go down that rabbit hole all day, but I want to talk about you and like your entrepreneurial spirit. So how did you get from having like a business about like, I mean, we can geek out on automation because, some people just love that, but like how did you take that and turn it into like, I want to talk about lives unchained. Like where was the click from business to, greater impact?
And that's a great question. I think what got me there, first of all, I've always been into personal development and becoming better. You
You
know,
like books and stuff like that?
yes. I used to listen to Zig Ziglar, and in
Oh,
fact,
yeah.
my biggest entry into automation was being part of the team that helped launch the Ziglar family 7-day family challenge a few years ago.
Cool.
So, yeah, I was managing the social media for actual Zig Ziglar Corporation and running ads and stuff for Ziglar Inc. and Ziglar Family, because there are 3 different
Cool.
divisions of the same thing.
That's
So,
awesome.
I only mention that because I listened to so much Zig Ziglar growing up. I could basically quote most of his stuff. In fact, my favorite quote comes from Zig Ziglar, which is, you can have everything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And if you really think about that, because I regurgitated that quote a lot of times
Yeah.
before it really sunk in. I'm like, wait, if you really practice that, it's huge. It's really much bigger than just some random quote. So that's how it became my favorite quote. And that leads me back to, how did I get into this Your Life Unchained thing? Well, I have this vision, this dream of both a for-profit and a not-for-profit company. And I've already got the domain names. The company is Unchain Your Warrior. And if you think about it, how many of us have held ourselves back? Everything that's held us back has been right in here, not out here. And that's probably the biggest struggle. Now, there's people that have had outside influences that have added to that. But at the end of the day, we can all make a decision. We can all make our own decisions, and we can choose to move forward or we can choose to move back. If you think about a flower either grows or dies. There is no limbo for a flower. It's either growing or it's dying. Well, it's the same for humans. We're either growing or we're dying. There is no just status quo.
Mhm.
You're either moving forward or moving backwards.
So how do you apply your love for like, self-development, personal growth, and, all of these like big impact driven dreams? How do you apply that to a digital marketing business?
And that's also a great question. And that's also kind of why, that is still over. The Unchain Your Warrior is still over here, but how I apply it inside of my own business is, and I kind of alluded to this when we were talking about it before, everything that I write, everything I do inside of my own business, I keep all these things in mind. So, talking about, marketers historically are all about metrics And again, the numbers are important because you have to know the math to know what's working and what's not. But at the heart of it all, the message has to be right in order to make all of those metrics work. And in order for the message to be right, you have to really understand the people that are on the other side of that message so that you're speaking to them. So that's really kind of reverse engineering into how I apply it in my own business. Is I am always extremely cognizant of who is on the other side of those emails. And the biggest struggle I have is those times when I work with clients and they were more about the metrics or the sales than they were about the message or the helping the other people. Mm-hmm. Because that's a disconnect for me.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. My brain is just spinning right now. And like what I would encourage, so if you're listening to this show right now, like think about brands or marketing emails that you've gotten before. And, Rick had some examples of not good emails, just like constant sales and promotions that just kind of badger people. And he said this was a company he bought from, and then they're just like going. So think about the opposite of that. What brands have you engaged with? Maybe you opted into their lead magnet to get your free download or your free trial for this. Think about a brand that like really impressed you. I'll start. So Rick, you brainstorm. What's one that you were just like, I want to do business with these people? Two come off the bat. Number one is Greg Jenkins' Monkey Pod. He's got some excellent the email content, as like you were saying, Rick. Like he writes his emails like he's talking to a person intimately, like he's being his authentic self all the time. He has a ton of free stuff, so you get a lot of value, and there's a lot of trust and authority built before there's even any offers. You're like, this guy's the real deal. And then you find out he's got even more valuable stuff, and then you get to pay for it and you get to have it. Notice like the words that fell out of my mouth just now. I said, you get to pay for that. Like imagine using automation and email marketing, some things that can be impersonal if used improperly. But if you use them well to just be an extension of yourself, you can build real lasting relationships. And I kid you not, I started replying to Greg's automated emails because they were so good. And we built a friendship that way. And then when I quit my job, I turned to him. I was like, should I keep certified? He said, yes. Shortly after that, he hired me, and I'm like the Monkey Pod community manager. Like these are relationships that were built because he's good at email marketing. My life is forever changed because a real person was behind real emails. So your turn.
And one of the ones that sticks out the most is Frank Kern, and primarily because of kind of the way he interacts with people. First of all, his emails are never long, drawn out. You don't have to wade through a bunch of crap. He speaks real. There's typically always typos in there. He was just promoting something the other day, and the words were something maker, and it was AKMER or something, like it was all backwards.
It's a real person. Yeah.
Real person. So even though he's well known in the marketing industry, I still feel he keeps it real. Plus, I think it's ironic that he's from Macon, Georgia originally, and I'm outside of Atlanta. So, but it's that, keep it real, be real, just be a human being. And I know he sells a lot of stuff and all that, but he still talks and keeps it real.
I recently bought from, I think the company's called Coffee and Motivation, because I was scrolling through Instagram and they had these ads, these like candles and coffee mugs say some like, there's like crass words and like some F-bombs and stuff, but like it's motivational, like get in your face type stuff. And they send me offers and deals like maybe once every week or two, but less the owner. I know the owner's first name because they're good at email marketing. Less will say, because the company's called Coffee and Motivation. So Les sends motivational emails that are like 2 sentences long. And he'll be like, dear Jade, you're doing great. Keep it up. Keep going. Sometimes things suck. You got this. Love, Les. And I'm just like, I know that was an email blast, but thank you. Cool. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So be a real
There's
person.
another company. Speaking of coffee and motivation, there's actually a coffee company here just outside of where I live, and it's crazy to think about because we're in this little tiny burg. So no one would ever dream that there's a coffee manufacturing company, but they've got family roots in, is it Colombia or anyway, in south of the border anyway. But they send emails out, but it's, there's links to YouTube videos that are instructional, like what's the difference in different roasts and different, so it's helpful. And that's another thing that I really like is when they send an email and there's actually useful information.
Yeah. High value, like building relationships. I mean, like we could all think of bad email marketers, they're a dime a dozen, but the good ones, they really stick with you. Like I know Les's first name. I should probably email him and be like, I used you as an example. Great stuff. You're doing great too, buddy. But no, I love that so much. So my next question for you is, I love that you are in a place in your life and your business where you got your regular business and you're killing it, you're doing great, and then you have the luxury, and I consider that a luxury. Like I think we're very lucky human beings that we get to pursue things that we actually like, that like light us on fire. So what would you tell yourself then in the beginning, like starting to get certified and like, oh my gosh, I have to service clients, I don't know what I'm doing? Like, what would you tell younger Rick that now?
Well, I would start with, and this is a quote that I got from that contractor friend that I mentioned. But don't try to ride more than one horse with one ass. Meaning, pick a lane, master it, get great at it, and then add to it. Rather than, oh, I'm going to do this and then this and then this and then this and then this, and then you suck at all of it. You drop the ball, it's like juggling cats. You're going to get scratched and you're done.
You're so quotable. It must be all those self-development books that you read, because you're incredibly quotable. I love that. Okay, so here's a good question for you. This is not like greater motivational. This is like cute, quick, and actionable. What's a good, like a final tip, trick, or hack or advice that you could give to anybody?
Find what you love. Find a way to make that marketable, because your passion itself is not going to make a business. It's got to be a passion and a purpose. Those two together can equal a business. But you got to find something you love, because otherwise, if it's just something that is a purpose that you don't love, then that's going to suck, because that's going to be monotonous. If it's just a passion, then that doesn't mean you can turn it into a purpose and make it something profitable. Passion plus purpose equals profitable.
You're so quotable, even with the alliterations today. You are on fire. Like, no, but that's also, I mean, let's talk about the practicality of that. That's so true, because I know a ton of people who are super talented, but don't pursue it because, entrepreneurship is scary, and they go to their safe job where, all the risk is on someone else. And I also know lots of people who just jump in anyway, and it's scary as hell. I mean, every day I'm like learning new things and trying new things that make me doubt everything that I think. And what if I did this and that? Maybe I just changed my business model. I mean, it's like you said in the very beginning, we're our own bosses, and sometimes we suck at that. It's hard, like being accountable to yourself for literally everything, for the trajectory of your business, the profitability of your business, feeding yourself, feeding your family. Do you want to build a legacy? Will this grow? I mean, there's so much doubt, but like passion, you have to love something, be good at it. And what was it? Purpose. Yeah. Like people need to like be in line with that too. And then you put those together. Yes, it's possible to make money on something you love, but it needs to have purpose.
Yes.
So I would urge listeners. So that's the tip or hack or piece of advice for you to kind of really like tickle your brain with a little bit today is thinking, okay, I'm good at some things, make a list of what you're good at. I'm sure it's not hard, but is there like a greater purpose? Would that serve people aside from you? I like to take long showers, but I don't think I get paid for it. I mean,
That might be a conversation for a different website or something.
exactly. Like we'll go down that rabbit hole. But like what are you good at? And like, is there a purpose for that? And maybe kind of expound on that. So that's some really good like mental exercises for people.
My name
So
is Rick and I like marketing. I can't play an instrument and I can't sing. I can write poems at the drop of a hat. I can write it like this. I can write it like that.
Are you like Dr. Seuss or Dr. Dre? I can't tell.
I did write a kid's book. I did write a children's book. I did. It's all rhyming, the whole thing.
It's a passion and it's a purpose, guys.
Yep.
Like kids need books. Okay, yeah, you get the point. So this has been super, super awesome. How can people follow you? I know you're about to launch your podcast and you're like jumping on a bunch of like dreams and passions because you got such a good foundation of your day-to-day business. How can people follow you, find you? Like what's your social media handles, websites, stuff like that?
So I'm Rick Sheninger everywhere. Rick Sheninger on Facebook, also one-to-one marketing. Marketing is abbreviated though, MKTG, 4 letters, MKG, one-to-one marketing.com. So facebook.com/one-to-one marketing, and Rick Sheninger on Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube. And my website is one-to-one marketing, MKTG.
Cool. And we'll be sure to link everything in the post itself for the show. So when people tune in, they can just click and follow you. This has been awesome. I mean, I was going to say you could write a book, but you did. And you're like, Zig Ziglar is your clients. I mean, you're very literary. I love that. This has been super quotable, lots of takeaways. Thank you so much for being a guest today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it.